and he goes scorched earth, calls her Marjorie Taylor Greene, unendorses her over and over.
Marjorie Taylor Brown, he changed her.
It was so lazy, too. He says, because green grass turns brown. This guy's losing his juice. But the point is, Donald Trump has kicked so many people out of public life because they don't want to be the subject of his ire. This is what Mike Pence has gone through. This is what Liz Cheney has gone through. This is what Alyssa Slotkin is going through right now.
Progressive host Adam Mockler went on Abby Phillips' show once again to go up against a panel that included MAGA stooges Joe Borelli and Breonna Lyman. The subject of this segment on Abby Phillips' show was the MAGA civil war between Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald Trump. We're going to take a look at clips of this panel with Adam Mockler and the rest on Abby Phillips' show. I have thoughts that I want to share as well. Let's check it out together.
Is MAGA cracking? One of the president's most loyal followers for a decade says that she is resigning from Congress after a bitter fallout with President Trump. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has been very vocal about what she thinks the president is doing wrong lately, from the economy to trying to get the Epstein files hidden. And in turn, Trump has called her a traitor and unendorsed her ahead of a primary. Well, now Greene says that she is resigning effective January. And here are some of the reasons why.
Loyalty should be a two-way street, and we should be able to vote our conscience. America first should mean America first and only Americans first. Standing up for American women who were raped at 14 years old, trafficked and used by rich, powerful men should not result in me being called a traitor and threatened by the President of the United States. I refuse to be a battered wife, hoping it all goes away and gets better.
An extraordinary development for one of the main characters of the Trump era, frankly. And I should just note, just a few minutes ago over at ABC, Rachel Scott spoke to President Trump, and he called Marjorie Taylor Greene's resignation great news for the country. He said she didn't give him any heads up about it. Joe, I mean, can you imagine that this has ended this way? And is this a sign that MAGA is really starting to crack up over many things, but perhaps the Epstein files being one of the biggest things?
I definitely didn't have Trump getting along with Mamdani and him being against Marjorie Taylor Greene on my bingo card going into
none of us did.
None of us probably did. But I'm one of those people who is not entirely upset to see her go. You called her a character just now. You basically phrased her as a character. I think after 4 years in Congress, you either have to make the choice, have you become a statesman or a stateswoman, or have you become a cartoon character? And I think she realized that she was going down that latter path. She tried to rebrand herself. Remember, I mean, you're not a conservative and going on The View unless you're trying to remake yourself as this new person. She's tried to go on The View. She tried to say that she's no longer this divisive person, but someone who made a career of only being divisive to be divisive. I just think it's going to be no hard loss on the Republican Party.
I feel like that was fine when she was supporting Trump, but now all of a sudden it's not.
It's like Marjorie Taylor Greene is realizing for the first time what it's like to be on the opposition side of Trump. She has clapped him on for years as he has over and over used the same vile rhetoric towards Democrats, towards other Republicans. But now she takes a principled stance for the first time and decides, I'm going to split with him on the Epstein files. And he goes scorched earth, calls her Marjorie Taylor Greene, unendorses her over and over.
Marjorie Taylor Brown, he changed her.
It was so lazy, too. He says, because green grass turns brown. This guy's losing his juice. But the point is, Donald Trump has kicked so many people out of public life because they don't want to be the subject of his ire. This is what Mike Pence has gone through. This is what Liz Cheney has gone through. This is what Alyssa Slotkin is going through right now. He calls Marjorie a traitor, says he wants to execute or hang Democrats. And now Marjorie...
You've answered the question that you asked about whether MAGA is fracturing. The truth is MAGA is not fracturing. If Donald Trump couldn't simply unendorse someone and that'll eliminate her chances of being there, that's only because the majority of people, whether they're in her Georgia district or elsewhere in the country, are going to follow President Trump.
Well, it hasn't eliminated her chance. She didn't get an endorsement the first time.
This is an entrenchment of MAGA,
she wasn't endorsed the first time by Trump,
a fracturing.
Do we think that this is the end of her political career?
No. I don't think so, but people are saying that. And you said that she tried to rebrand herself. I think that she's tried to rebrand herself a few times since she's been in office, whether it was, okay, I believe in conspiracy theories first, and then I want to be a team player, and now she's rebranding herself, which to me isn't her being a character. It's actually her saying, for whatever reasons, it's actually her saying, I'm caring about the people that I represent. I'm looking for my constituency, and I want to help them. So I don't think her career is over. However, this is highly unusual. It does not happen. And if it does happen, it's usually because somebody is sick or there's something else going on. And in my opinion, I truly believe she has a future, a bright future. Where she lands, Who knows? But she did this knowing full well what it meant. I don't think that she took this lightly and said, I'm leaving because I just feel like leaving.
But there are other cracks in the MAGA coalition right now.
Yeah.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is not just talking about the Epstein files, which is a big issue, and the entirety of the House and the Senate, save for one person, voted to release them, which despite Trump flip-flopping at the last minute, he clearly doesn't want these files out because he's been very opposed to it. But the economy, she's been saying, and she said in her video tonight, the economy is not working for regular people. Prices are too high. Not enough has been done about it. She doesn't think that the president is addressing that issue. And more Republicans are starting to say that too. So there are some cracks. And is Trump going to actually address that, or is he just going to go scorched earth on everyone?
So I don't think that is a crack in the MAGA coalition and the MAGA party. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene identified legitimate frustrations that not only MAGA and conservatives have, but anybody who wants their government to actually function. Everybody has those same concerns because the gridlock in Congress has gotten to a point where nothing gets done. And I think what Marjorie Taylor Greene is also hitting on frustration-wise is that we have a Republican majority, we have a trifecta. What have we gotten from it? There are Republican voters, low propensity Republican voters. They don't like to turn out. Democrats turn out better. And they turned out last November. They delivered this majority. What do we have to show for it right now?
And why are we still arguing? Why are we so mad?
Wouldn't Republicans say, oh, well, it's the tax cuts? I mean, I think this kind of puts that strategy right squarely on the table.
Yeah.
The tax cuts were what they spent all of their political capital on in this year. And voters are basically still saying they don't think that they're better off.
Well, and I think voters are saying that they're not better off when they think of one of the reasons Donald Trump appealed to people last election is people remember 2017 through 2019 under President Trump prior to pandemic, what the economy felt like. Things are trending in the right direction under Donald Trump, but that is not to say that there are still pains.
By what indicator?
For example, the wages, your average paycheck can pay for 1% more. Now, I'm not saying, wow, lucky us, 1% more. What I'm saying, though, is that is an indicator things are trending in the right direction, but it's not tangible. People don't feel it. And if Republicans cannot bring tangible solutions by November, they're going to lose.
So several things here to touch on. So I think Breonna Lyman is correct with what she's saying in terms of the Republicans aren't doing anything. So people are unhappy about that. But of course, this is what we see anytime Republicans are in power. They don't do anything to actually govern. They don't care about that. They like to have the power. They like to funnel money to themselves and their rich friends. And that's what we're seeing with the Trump administration, grifting on a level that we've never seen before. But actually trying to improve the lives of any everyday people, they have no interest in that. And that's part of why we have this continual pendulum switch that we see over and over again in our country. The Republicans are in power. They do nothing but enrich their friends, cut regulations that help corporations and harm the rest of us. And then they just have sick ideas like, hey, what if I'm just making this up, but what if we just took all the homeless people and we just catapult them into space, right? That's not going to make your life any better. And then normal people outside of hardcore Republican ideology and MAGA way of thinking are horrified and say, we got to get these people out of here. And then the Democrats get elected and they have to try to fix a lot of the problems. And they don't do enough, and then people say, hey, you didn't improve my life either. I'm going to vote for those other guys again, and the pendulum goes back and forth over and over and over again. So Breonna Lyman, I'm sure what she thinks Republicans should be doing, I would not agree with, but she is correct, I think, that Republicans aren't doing anything, and people are upset because Republicans aren't interested in governing. Adam Mockler, what he says here in terms of Trump going after people in public life, now he's talking about the politicians like Marjorie Taylor Greene, and who would want to put up with unless you are constantly following everything that the dear leader says and constantly sucking up to him and licking his boots, then he's going to attack you. But we also have lots and lots of regular people who are facing that wrath of Donald Trump and MAGA. Federal workers. Why would anybody want to be a federal worker at this point? I mean, somebody who is graduating from college and they're thinking, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. Why would you go into federal work at this time when they're just constantly under attack? People like air traffic controllers. Used to be a non-controversial job, but they're under attack because of Donald Trump. Poll workers, again, used to be something non-controversial and looked at as, wow, somebody's really doing their civic duty by being a poll worker or working within the election system. Constantly under attack, even getting death threats. So I don't know that there's ever been a political figure who has attacked more areas of public life and even somewhat private life than Donald Trump has. So Adam Mockler is exactly correct about that. And then we get to Joe Borelli about the divisiveness of Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she hasn't done anything while she's in office. Yeah, just as we were talking about with Breonna Lyman, none of the Republicans are doing anything. It's a party and a movement completely based on owning the libs and being trolls. And that's what Marjorie Taylor Greene has done throughout her career, and all these other Republicans, and it starts from the top with Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. They're just there to be trolls and collect money, but they're not actually doing anything for voters or constituents. So Joe Borelli doesn't strike me as very smart, but if he actually believes that other members of Congress, Republican members of Congress, are actually doing anything for their constituents, he's even dumber than what I thought.
Hey, hop in on the MAGA fracture really quickly, because one point that I think you missed is that people like Nick Fuentes or this America First movement are now going to be hardcore lobbying to get Marjorie Taylor Greene on their side, which will only accelerate this MAGA divide between a more, I don't know, anti-Israel, a more really populist movement versus now what's kind of becoming like the MAGA establishment, which is weird. So Nick Fuentes, he's a legitimate political operator. I know that he's like a hugely divisive dude online, but he is trying to make moves to gain leverage over the Republican Party. There is a very real chance that he capitalizes on this in such a way that Marjorie is then in his camp. I don't think that would be good for the current MAGA establishment.
I think the fact that she is actually resigning and talking bad about, in the sense of like, I'm out of here. It is a fracture. This is a huge fracture. You can't say that this person who was so loyal to him isn't a fracture. Trending in the right direction, someone would disagree with that. They'd ask about affordability and groceries and all of the things that we're going to talk about, obviously. But you can't, people are not feeling that way right now.
I don't disagree, but I do think when we're talking about trending in the right direction, you know, you're trending in the right direction when inflation is down under this president compared to last. Those are things that are moving in a positive direction. But I'm not disagreeing that the average Republican out there is saying, my grocery bills aren't going down that much, my gas bills haven't changed that much, so what are Republicans
We'll
doing?
talk a lot more about the economy in a little bit. I want to play a little bit more what Marjorie Taylor Greene has been saying lately. This was on Sunday. She was talking about the political climate that she's in. Listen.
I would like to say humbly, I'm sorry for taking part in the toxic politics. It's very bad for our country, and it's been something I've thought about a lot, especially since Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Is that I'm only responsible for myself and my own words and actions, and I am committed, and I've been working on this a lot lately to put down the knives in politics. I really just want to see people be kind to one another.
So, Joe, I mean, I really want to know your kind of analysis of that. Do you believe that's genuine? Do you see why she would take that stance and then decide, I can't battle it out in a Republican primary? Trump's going to be sicking like 5 or 6 people on me in the primary. No, thank you.
This is someone who probably went home to her district, you know, over the last shutdown, looked around and realized that in 4 years in the House of Representatives, she has made almost no impact for her constituents. She has been divisive for the sake of being divisive.
That has never been a problem. Explain that to me.
She learns it from Trump.
But hold on. But
I've also never said that she's this great person.
But don't you think it's not that her voters have never been, if that is true, I think Democrats would argue that is true. Republicans historically have not said that about her, but if that is true, and her voters didn't really care until this moment, what does that say?
Look, what I was going to say is compare her to someone like Jim Jordan, who some people find abrasive. But his pugilistic style is to come with facts, he brings receipts, and maybe he rubs people the wrong way.
Joe Borelli is going to use Jim Jordan as his example of not being divisive. Good Lord.
But there's intention there, and there's a rationale. She just trolled people. She spent 4 years in the House
But
of
that's what
Representatives
they do.
troll people for no reason. So, like,
Well, she learned it from Trump.
Yeah, like,
Trump
that's
posts
what they
AI
do.
videos of Obama being arrested. Trump posts videos of Hakeem Jeffries in a sombrero. Trump says
What's
that
so
Democrats should be
different that she
executed.
decides- what
Marjorie
does she
Taylor
do
Greene's
differently?
style is downstream from Trump's style. It's not
because
unique in any way.
Trump does all those funny things with an objective.
They're not funny. Wait, the execution of Democrats
I
is
think
funny?
the sombrero thing, like, I would, like, if
Why
I
is
could
that
put the
funny?
sombrero
Government
on you,
shutdown?
I think it's hysterical. Yeah,
Why?
I think it's funny.
What's
I think it's
funny?
fun. I think he's
So
making
what's the
fun of his
difference
opponents.
between what she does and what Trump does?
Exactly. You're defending it now.
I think she does it for no purpose and for no gain, and she has nothing to show for
What's
it.
his
All right,
purpose?
we're gonna hit pause on this and continue.
This is a really stupid argument on Joe Borelli's part. So if Joe Borelli finds it funny, like wearing a sombrero, then that's not divisive. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, what she says or does, that's divisive in his mind. Ultimately, it comes down to just Joe Borelli is upset that Marjorie Taylor Greene is leaving, so she's divisive. But the rest of MAGA, this entire party, like I was saying before, that's all based on trolling. It's all trolling. It's all owning the libs. And he's going to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene is divisive. And a guy like Jim Jordan, I mean, one of the biggest creeps in Congress. If you know anything about the background of Jim Jordan, which I'm not going to get into this here, you talk about somebody who's divisive and not funny. I don't know. Again, should the role of our members of Congress be to be stand-up comedians and make fun of other ideologies that they don't believe in? Or should it be to try to solve problems for the United States? I mean, I'm all about having fun and making jokes, and even people within their job. But we have an entire party that all it is just about making fun of anybody that they disagree with. So this from Joe Borelli just falls on deaf ears to me. But let me know what you think about this. Do you agree with what Joe Borelli, Adam Mockler, Breonna Lyman, Carrie Champion, what they were saying on Abby Phillips' show about Marjorie Taylor Greene? And do you think this is a real civil war between possibly a Marjorie Taylor Greene side of the party and the other side of the party that's still bowing down to Donald Trump, people like Joe Borelli and Scott Jennings who go on Abby Phillips' show every night? Let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure to give me a like and subscribe. I am Chris on Culture, and I'll see you in the next video.